which bike would I actually take based on what I'm going to do with it, touring, or my size also, because I have the little 400 speed and a little bit bigger Scrambler, and then a Scrambler all decked out with all the accessories from Triumph. Which one would I pick, and which one would be good for you? All right, guys, what are the differences between the speed in the Scrambler and, of course, all the touring that you can get on this? Well, you can do that with the speed too, but this bike just looks so much bigger than a 400. Yeah, that's why I want to point out what we can get on this little 400cc bike. But what are the main differences between the 400, the speed, and the Scrambler? The Scrambler is 41 millimeters longer in wheelbase. The front has 10 millimeters more travel and 20 millimeters more travel on the rear. And it has a 19-inch front switchable ABS on the rear for the Scrambler, 320 millimeter disc, but the calipers are the same, versus 300. 45 millimeter taller seat, the protection of the headlight, the radiator and sump, handguards, and longer mudguard. Higher 87 millimeter wider handlebars. So it's higher and wider, the handlebar. The 901 versus the 814. 9 kilograms heavier. And of course, we have different paint schemes that we can all get for the two different bikes. Basically, it's just the tank they're changing out, really, in reality. Now, I did a review of the Speed earlier last summer. Now, this review is going to focus on the Scrambler. And towards the end, I'm going to focus on which one would I buy and why, based on the size of the rider, not experience. Anybody can hop on these bikes, and whether you're brand new or old retired guy that's been riding these for 50 years, you'll still love them. So now let's get into the details of this right here, the Scrambler. Look at these beautiful forks. Yeah, 43 millimeter, 150 mils of travel, 140 mils of travel. Also look at the tire, 19 inch, 17 inch. Also look at that disc, that's a 320 millimeter disc. That's only a 300. Although the radial mounted by Brie caliper is still exactly the same. And then, oh, and then, yeah, look at this. I love this look right here. Here, 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 all with the Scrambler. So you don't get any of that here. And this is where you see the handlebar difference. See how this is much higher? This is much lower. Also the width. This is in a little bit more than these. So if you're doing city commuting on either one of these bikes, this would be better. You're less likely to clip car mirrors than on this. These are a little wider and higher, and they're the perfect size for car mirrors. Now the rear, 17, 17, 150 mils of travel. There, 130 mils of travel. And the brakes are exactly the same by Brie. So how does this suspension and brakes feel on the street? Now, this is my favoritist bumpy road, country road, and with curves, and it's a little damp, as you can see. And this suspension is a little tighter than I thought it would be. It's tighter than the Speed 400. And it has 10 more travel on the front and 20 more on the rear. Or is it the other way around? I don't know, I forget. It's got more suspension travel, so I figured it would be a little more plush, but it's not. It's more tuned. These non-adjustable front forks are tuned more for sporty behavior, basically. And although, is it annoying? No, it's not annoying. Yeah, this is a budget bike, and so I got to compare apples to apples. You know, $6.5K to other bikes that are $6.5K, and this is nice.
I think I would loosen up the preload on the rear a notch or two to make it a little more softer, you know, because I'm getting up there in age, and so at 57, I'm like, give me a more plush ride. But overall, the suspension is good. Now the front brake, though, boy, you really gotta lean into it to get it to stop you, to bring it down. Yeah, ooh. Well, it's a single disc, but it's a bi-breeze, so it's a good, and it's a 320 disc, whereas the Speed only has a 300. And the rear brake, good feel. Oh, there, locked, it kicked in the ABS a little bit there, didn't I? Yeah, it looked like it. The rear brake, I'm getting used to it. It's there. Yeah, I have the ABS on. You can turn it off on the rear here. And I was trying to kick it in. So, yeah. Overall, though, suspension and brakes, yeah, I'm giving it a thumb and a half. Not quite 2 thumbs. This engine and transmission is just a peach. It's to flip through these gears like this. Okay, I can do that on any Triumph. They're very good close ratio gears, so you can blip up and down without a quick shifter, no problem. And but I'm loving the pull of this 398cc thumper. It's look at this. I'm at 4,000 RPMs, and it's just pulling. Look at the speed. I'll just climb. It's like, wow, this is nice. You drop a couple gears and get on it. And that sound, yes, it is a thumper sound, but it doesn't sound like a 400. It sounds more like a 600, 650 thumper. And so Triumph worked on that, the acoustics, and they nailed it. And it does not sound like a 400cc thumper. It sounds much bigger, and it just touches your soul. It's got character and soul and charisma. It's not your typical bland 400cc, you know, just in this price point. What do you got? The Honda GB 350 or the CL 500 or the Royal Enfield, excuse me, Himalayan. Those are all good bikes, but Honda, soul and character, probably not so much. But this bike, you just want to play with it. And that's what this bike says to me. Let's go play. And so that's what this engine and transmission, you can just click through these gears effortlessly with this pull, the torque of this little thumper. It's hilariously good. See, like here, I'm in what, 4th gear, right around 3,000 RPMs, and speed limit 60, so I can roll on 20 kilometers. There. Oh, it rolls right on. Okay, this is a kids' playground area here. I always slow down. Right there. They wanted me to hog. That's funny. So this engine and transmission is getting 2 thumbs up from me. Boom, boom. On the highway, I would not want to take this bike. I'm doing what, 100, 105, 110, so 62, 63 miles an hour. And this is enough wind for me, let alone getting on the Autobahn. Look at those guys flying by, and I'm like, with this amount of wind, it's hitting me. Right, where is it? About right here in my chest, all the way up all my arms, hands. Well, a little bit off the hands because of the hand guards, but my legs, shins, thighs, everything on my legs, my waist. everything's getting feels like it's getting hit by wind. So no need to go on the highway. And it's a little buzzy right now in the foot pegs, and especially in the right foot peg. Man, that would, if I droned out on the highway longer than a half hour, my feet would get numb. And the hands, it's not too bad, but it's getting there. It's a little buzzy. You know, I'm doing what, one, I almost got up to 110 there. But this is not a highway bike. I wouldn't want to spend any longer than a half hour on the highway.
This seat here is 835 mils off the ground, and it's two pieces. There on the speed, it's 790 mils off the ground in one solid piece. That's the base, what we have there. Now also the tanks are exactly the same size. Except you get the knee pads here, and you notice you do not get them on here. So that's also a nice little noticing a little difference there, guys. So how are these ergonomics changing between the speed and the Scrambler? How does that feel in, say, a little village?
Now, in a little village, this is where this bike shines. I am amazed. This is hilariously easy to ride in a little village. The flickability, the flickability is on par with any other bike this size. It's effortless whatsoever. You can just boom, boom, dodge anything in the road you want. You know, so if you've got potholes or whatever, pedestrians, bicyclists, you can avoid everything on this bike. Although with this, the Scrambler, this bar is about 900 millimeters wide and the speed is 800. And this bar is higher than on the speed. So, and it's right at about the correct height of mirrors of cars that you might be passing. So that's a consideration if you guys are going to use this as a city commuter. Get the speed. Unless you're a bigger guy, taller like me, I would say 6 foot, then you might want a bike like this. I'm 5'10", 170, 8 centimeters with a 32-inch inseam, so this is perfect for me. I would take this over the speed in a heartbeat, especially for in town and whatever, buzzing around. I'm so comfortable on this. I'm sitting upright, loving this riding position, although this seat is hard. Man, I wonder why it's so hard. Okay, thank you. And to pull, look at this torque. The thing is just climbing. And going uphill, I'm accelerating. So this thumper will pull, especially if you're like a hilly city like San Francisco, and you got these huge hills you're going up. This little 400 thumper will do it no problem. So in a little village, this thing's getting 2 thumbs up. Boom, boom.
Now let's get into some options that you can get with this. You can get your side luggage soft from Triumph and your semi-rigid here also. And look at this huge tank bag. That is huge. Now, once you get this Scrambler, oh, and this also has the windshield option. You see it's not over there, but it is over here. And that does provide some good extra wind protection from coming through and hitting the body while you're on your little weekend tour. Now, this seat, I did notice, I took this bike home over the weekend and I did a little bit of running around. And after a while, the seat is hard as a rock. I hope it softens up eventually. And it seemed like this seat here is a little softer than this seat. That's a little frustrating for me, is this seems a little harder. Maybe it'll soften up. I hope so. Maybe you guys can leave comments below as to which one. Now, which one you prefer, and if this softens up. Now, which one would I buy? Hands down, because of my size, this, yeah, the Scrambler. I'm 5'10", 178 centimeters tall, 32-inch inseam, and I'm just more comfortable on an 835 millimeter seat off the ground than a 790. It just makes sense. Now, although what I would prefer in the city is not such a wide handlebar. This 900 millimeter width, and it's a little higher, as I showed you earlier, than the Speed. You're gonna clip some car mirrors. They're about at the, I was in city and going, oh, that's perfect height to whack off some car mirrors. So yeah, boom, you know, oh, sorry, you know. Whereas you're probably less likely, and you say, well, 100 millimeter difference, is that really? Well, it's 4 inches. And if you're squeezing through and it's a little lower, it may make a difference. So I'm torn. Yes, I would get this because of my size. But if you're a little shorter than me, a little smaller build than me, then the Speed is for you. It's an awesome city commuter. This thing got vibey on country roads at highway speeds at 100 kilometers per hour, which is 62 miles an hour. But I think that's because of the front sprocket on this is only a 14. On the Speed, it's a 15. The Speed wasn't as buzzy until you got up to about 110, 120 kilometers per hour, about 70, 75 miles an hour. Then it got buzzy, but this got buzzy before you reach those speeds. So if I got this, here we go, which I would. If I had to buy a 400, I would get the Scrambler. I would change out that front sprocket to the 15 that comes in the Speed, just order from Triumph, and then, you know, of course you'd have to mess with the speedometer and so on, and depending on what country you're in, you might have to change it legally. But that's what I would take, and that's why I would take it. And also take that 15 sprocket so that it eliminates that buzziness from coming on too soon. Also, what I think affected the buzziness were these front tires, or the front and rear tires. These tires, they're a little more, and so I think it's the combination. Once you got this thing up to 6,000 RPMs and the tires, that harmonics, vibrations, it really picked up way more in both hands and in both feet than the Speed. And so that's what I'm thinking it is the front sprocket and the tires. So those are the two things I would change if I wanted to turn the Scrambler into a city commuter. Okay, guys, that's my verdict, and what you take and how you choose it, choose carefully. If you're my size, you can go either way. But if you're taller than me, Scrambler. If you're shorter than me, Speed. So use my size. I'm pretty average, 5'10", 178 centimeters. So I'm pretty average height, and I would still go with this. All right, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this review. As always, guys, ride safe and ride like there's nothing to prove. Take care. Cheers.